Welcome to this episode of The Big Bosses. Today, we have a company with us which controls 1/3 of the world's internet, yet it is not so visible. It is now rewriting how tech companies work and telling a new story. Please welcome Mr. Amur Lakshminarayanan, CEO, Tata Communications. Hi Lakshmi, good morning. Thank you so much for your time today and welcome to this episode of The Big Bosses. I'll begin this conversation by understanding how the year has been for you. So looking back, if you had some goals in the beginning of the year, so what does the report card look like for you?
Interesting. So I haven't thought about calendar years because we always think about financial years. Mm-hmm. But it's been very good. Professionally, it's been quite fulfilling. We made our big announcement in our Investors' Day that we are still aiming to hit the 28,000 crore number with all the financial metrics on profitability and ROCE. Internally, for 2030, we set ourselves even a bigger and higher goal in terms of growth. We're quite excited about the possibilities that are out there. I think we've shifted this company from where it was with debt to a company full of possibilities in the future with a digital fabric that resonates with the customers. And there have been a few other milestones along the way in terms of getting some good deals. We just announced the acquisition and investment of Commotion, which has been long in the making by way of partnership of working with them. We have a tremendous team there, fully capable, very AI native. The speed at which they do things, I've seen what we have been able to do internally is X times faster. We think that with that acquisition, not only will our product portfolio improve, but we are hoping to rub off some of those capabilities inside the company to transform ourselves as well. So it's been a good year professionally.
So you're happy with how the year has panned out.
Very happy with the way it's
good to know
out,
that.
Yes.
Moving forward, you have been saying that now you are trying to position Tata Communication as a technology company and not as a telecommunication company anymore. Right. So I want to understand, where was the genesis of this? From where is this thought coming from that it's high time that we position ourselves as a tech company?
Again, an interesting question. So I don't come from a telecom background myself. Even though in my previous career in TCS, I have managed a telecom unit. So in that sense, I have met with telecom customers. So I think all over the world, telcos have been working incredibly hard, but not to show very, very much progress. Because I think telco's lunch is being eaten by everybody else. And if you look at the financial results of most of the global telcos, especially in the B2B market, you would see that most of the B2B telcos are either degrowing or showing a small 1% growth. Their ROCE was sub 10% at 8%, still heavy in capex, and that was the nature of the business that was in space. So for us, what I thought was this will become an existential problem if we don't redefine the company. And the genesis of the transformation that we launched, the primary purpose, besides becoming financially fit, as I said, the company had heavy debts and so on, so we had to become financially fit. But besides that, one was we needed to redefine the relevance of what Tata Communications stood for. Right? The relevance for a CIO of Tata Communications was not that high. Right? We were very important. We played a very crucial portion because they used to tell me that, hey, if this network went down, then the business is down. One of the customers even told us that, hey, if you have small jitters and disturbances on the lines, it costs them money. And when I went back and saw that, one of the reports showed that a minute's jitter in the international sense, would cost a bank $6,000. Because if the contact center, the call falls through, or something doesn't happen, a transaction doesn't go through, if there's a payment authorization and that fails, and all of those are issues. But these kind of issues would cost them a lot of money. But by way of the importance that they would accord to the solution that we would offer, we would come way below the thing. So that's when it struck me that it's not very, they look at you as a utility, that it's always functioning. When the switch is on, the current is on. Similarly, the network should be on. But beyond that, you're not very relevant to their forward-looking digital transformations that they were talking about. So those were some of the genesis of why we thought that in order for us to become more relevant, we need to reinvent ourselves in the context of a large enterprise customers. How do we make ourselves more relevant to their digital journey and the digital transformations that they were going through?
So basically, you're making enterprise life easy.
That's very well summarized, because end of the day, what we are trying to do is, we say we are here to uncomplicate and help you to innovate. That's what we do, because the digital infrastructure has become quite complicated. Regardless of the points I said about the customer journeys and how AI can help and what the benefits you would get, purely looking at the digital infrastructure, the network. How do I manage the LAN and the Wi-Fi? How do I manage the cloud? How do I manage all the security that goes around with that? And especially with AI, if you add AI now, this complexity is going to get amplified many, many times over. Right? Now, with this kind of a complexity, what many large organizations are feeling, that this entire digital infrastructure is very fragmented. Somebody will manage a LAN, somebody will manage the network, somebody else will manage the cloud, somebody else needs to manage the security, and too many fragmentation of all of this happening. We say our digital fabric essentially unifies all these domains. We are saying that, hey, if you use our digital fabric, it will uncomplicate the life for you, and it will also help you to innovate faster with the fabric. Right? That's the story that we are telling the market.
So what I understand of this conversation is Tata Communication is basically omnipresent in every sector. So be it cars, be it whatever we talk about.
Absolutely.
So this brings me to the next question. I'm very curious to know this. You control around 1/3 of the world's internet. You are a B2B company. But at the end of all this is the consumer who is using it. Do you not think that you need to be more visible to the end consumer?
We'd like to, but our first and primary goal is to serve the large enterprise customers. And we want to, once we create that visibility for that large enterprise customers, I'm sure our names would be, more and more better known. So some of our customers, I think it goes through the phases. Today when we go and meet with the CIO and sometimes even with the CEO when we do the workshop, the reaction is saying, I didn't realize Tata Comm can do all of this.
Yes.
So their perception is still that, we have large networks and we can connect the networks. But they didn't realize that we do that. So this is a process. We've been building this capability. Now we are trying to tell our story to the market. And it is resonating within the enterprise segment. And that is the reason why in the last 5 years, we have been able to double our $10 million customers, for example. So our number of $10 million customers 5 years ago to now has doubled. Number of $1 million customers has grown 30-40%. Right? And it's growing because we are becoming more and more relevant to that enterprise. Today we are $2.1 billion company, and when the size becomes larger, we would definitely like to take this message out to broader number of people who would understand and realize what Tata Comm does.
So talking about opportunities, and we are also India is at a time where they're talking a lot about data centers. Like in the past 5-6 years, the conversation around data centers that has manifold. Yeah. What is your current role in the entire data center infrastructure?
No, data centers are an important part of the digital ecosystem. And as you rightly said, we sold our stake in STT. And we still have a 26% stake in that company, so we have a strategic interest there. But what we have evolved to is we use the data centers to build and deliver our cloud solutions to our customers, for example. So data centers host our cloud. Our Vayu cloud runs on these data centers. So that is one linkage. The other is all these data centers need to be connected with a very high speed and very resilient connectivity, because the data centers applications resides in multiple data centers, and they have to so that connectivity becomes extremely crucial, and we are the market leaders in connecting all the data centers in India. So that is another role that we play in the data center ecosystem. So one is we run our cloud, and second is all the data center connectivity, and we are coming up with newer products, like I said, on demand connections. Now we are looking to launch another product which will make it more resiliency on demand, for example. All of that is what we are working on. So we will surround the data center with our products of connectivity, inside and outside, and we also will run our own cloud which will run on these data centers to deliver the solutions to the customers.
Speaking about cloud, it's been around a year since you launched Vayu. So how has the response been?
It's been excellent. Vayu Cloud is, in terms of the last 2 quarters, we launched it about two quarters ago, in April. I think the response on the Vayu Cloud has been excellent. We have a lot of deals in the pipeline. We've closed a number of deals as well. And also our cloud solution is a multifaceted one. It's just not a CPU cloud that we offer. We offer a GPU as a service. We also offer edge cloud as well. With edge can be running in the factories, for example, or edge can be running in a retail store or a warehouse. All of that is part of our solution, and we have good number of successes across the board, whether it's a GPU as a service or infrastructure as a service, which is a traditional cloud, or providing the edge. All of this is one. Second is also in terms of the platform capabilities, we have evolved the Vayu cloud capabilities tremendously. It is as good as a hyperscaler cloud in terms of its scalability, its performance. Some of the platform services, we don't offer all the bells and whistles of what a hyperscaler would offer, but we say that, look, if you offer 60 services, these 66 services are as good as anything that you would get around the world, and this is best in class. So that is the story with which we are going to enterprises. And finally, I think there is a lot more of understanding of the importance of a sovereign cloud, right? Because with some of the recent issues that the customers have faced, they all understand that to have a better control and with the sovereign nature of the cloud is a lot more important. And that is where we are also seeing some traction. We have bolted on some of the software vendors on top of our cloud. To a bank, for example, we can offer that as a full bundle now to them. Not only offer our cloud services, but the software vendor can offer their software product on top of our cloud. So those are all the initiatives that we've been taking.
So anything more that we can expect on the sovereign cloud front?
We are continuing to invest both on the infrastructure and the GPU. And we are talking to very large organizations as well as the governments who are showing interest. So we'll see how that progresses.
How are you building the GPU infrastructure?
Ours today is an NVIDIA platform. We have deployed their architecture and all their software components to deliver the GPU cloud. We are also launching an AI studio on top of it, which allows the customers to build applications and also use them during inferencing with fractional GPUs, because you don't need the full GPU capacity. You need the ability to use the right resources at the right time or right amount of resources at the right time. So all that capability we'll offer through our AI studio for the customers. Our aim there is to make sure that we provide an infrastructure and a platform that will enable the enterprises to build the best AI products and solutions that they need at the right price point. Because with AI, especially with inferencing that is going to take off, the cost is going to be, nobody has modeled what that cost is going to be in the future. Today, if you're operating in a public cloud, people realize that it was easy to get into the cloud, but as they scale, they see a lot of cost challenges, let alone other sovereignty related challenges that I talked about. Purely in the cost perspective, there is a lot of egress costs, and the cost just goes up exponentially. And combine that with AI, for example. And today, if I am going to do inferencing using AI, I have to pay by the number of tokens and number of APIs. And that. So today, people are in the experimentation stages with AI, and therefore it seems affordable. But when you exponentially grow that, so in future, when I say that, look, you can assign an agent for each of your customer, that n equals to 1. If I have a million customers, you could have a million agents supporting your organization. Then if you see the inferencing cost that an enterprise would have, would be enormous. I don't think that cost has been factored into account. Now, with our solution, we are saying that, hey, our AI engine, that Commotion, will run on Vayu Cloud, and we will give you a very predictable pricing for the whole thing. Right? So the cost predictability is going to be important. The fact that the data and the intelligence will remain sovereign is important. And the fact that it will be scalable and best in class will be important.
Understood. And also there is a GPU shortage happening globally because of the AI boom. So is that in any way impacting your plans?
Not at the moment. So I don't think people talk about shortages anymore. There is plenty available there. I think the real question for me is, the enterprise scaling. When will that happen? Right. I think the shortages were talked about when people were building models. Right? So model building requires a lot of GPUs, and that is going to come in spurts. And while the government of India is supporting some of the model builders in India to build their own models, and with the AI mission is supporting that. Eventually, once people build the model, has to be deployed in the enterprise, and that is where the scaling needs to happen. Right? So our focus is on both sides. Now, how do I use the Vayu Cloud to support the model builders? And we are supporting some of the model builders to build, including Commotion, who's built the voice-to-voice AI models, is built on our Vayu Cloud. Right? So we are supporting the model builders. But more importantly, we need to see how enterprises are really going to scale their AI. So today, still AI is in the experimentation phase in many enterprises, and that's what I'm talking about. And they need to, when that scales, is when we need to see how much of GPU capacity is required, how optimally can we use. GPUs are also, with every passing technology, the older technology becomes obsolete. But they can be used for inferencing more effectively. Right? So we need to look at all. I don't think there is going to be an issue of shortage of GPUs is not the problem. The problem is more on the other end of how effectively our enterprise is going to use AI and how much scale they can achieve. Is AI integral to the strategy, or is AI being used to today automate one task and another task, or are they looking at holistically an AI strategy which will become embedded into that company? At that time, the problems will be of different nature, and that is why we want to solve that holistically by not just offering an AI infrastructure, but also a studio, an agentic platform that will enable the enterprises to build and scale the AI applications in a secure manner, with a lot of governance that needs to go around with it. Right? So, I talked about agents. So agents need to be secure. Agents need to have identity. Right? So in internal IT systems, every individual has an identity, and based on that, access is provided. Same things will need to happen for the agents as well. So that entire application architecture and the platforms that are going to be required is of a different nature. And we are going to help all of that with our platform capabilities.
Good. So there's a lot of geopolitical uncertainties that we are in. It has been happening for quite a while. We also have the 50% tariff imposed by US. So looking at all of these, do you think this will in any way impact the consumer spending, which will have an impact on your revenue?
Now, sometimes some external factors are not something that you can really worry too much about. Of course, those will be considerations in our planning in terms of how much we spend and when we spend. But I don't think they are big factors when we set targets for ourselves and when we start executing on our plan. Those are not the biggest consideration in our execution at all. Which is the reason why there have been delays in hitting our ambition in the past. and we are not too concerned when things move a little bit here. Our biggest aim and our biggest concern is to make sure that we are becoming increasingly relevant for the enterprises. Right? So that's the biggest goal for us, and that is a journey that we have to really monitor to say, am I relevant when a customer is talking about building AI applications at scale? But it's just not the platform that governs and unifies the data and how they send messages and all of that, but it also is about, as it scales, what is the network going to look like? How am I going to make sure my network is now capable of addressing all these AI workloads, inferencing at very low latency, making it secure? All of that, how do you do, is what we need to, and that is where our investments are going. So I feel confident that with all our investments, with all our platforms, we are becoming more and more relevant to enterprise customers. Of course, we need to up our game in terms of telling the story to the market better and winning even more deals and growing the company faster. But that's the journey we are in. As long as we are in that journey, I think we will see success. The question is more of when, not an if. So this external factors will be a blip in this whole thing, as opposed to being the main hero of the story.
So, what's your strategy for inorganic growth? Are there more in the pipeline?
There are much opportunities to grow. We will look at enhancing capabilities. That is what Commotion did for us in terms of brings tremendous amount of capabilities in a platform-based agentic AI and voice AI capabilities. That's a capability that we've acquired. Similarly, if there are other opportunities from a capability perspective, we would be looking to acquire. The second category of acquisitions would be more to expand our footprint geographically. So if there are opportunities where it strengthens our presence in certain markets in an even bigger way, those would be other types of opportunities. So both from a customer and a geography reach, as well as from a capability, we are constantly going to be on the lookout to make sure that we can grow.
You spoke about the deal pipeline is good. So what are some of the new trends that you're seeing and also working on them?
I think the realization, especially in some of the international customers that we are speaking to, that their infrastructure has become quite complex. They mention, actually two customers mentioned that they've transformed their applications. They're moving their workloads to cloud, and that journey is still going on, and they are working on that. But the network and how network has been architected, and around that how security is being managed, they are left behind. So they want to fully transform that. So a few of the very interesting deals that we are working on is to see how we look at the entire network infrastructure, including the internet, how they connect to the cloud, how they secure the whole thing. And they are now willing to talk to one player and say that we'll talk to you to see how to transform that. So those are some of the type. I think that the difference that we are able to bring is we are fairly agnostic to any of the OEMs. Now, we are not trying to sell a product to them. We come more to see how do we solve the problem for them. And secondly, the platform that we have, the threat span that I talked about, which is again an AI-powered solution, is able to give that visibility, the promise of uncomplicate things and help me to innovate. That promise is now realizable, and they see that it's a realizable journey with us. So those are the types of deals that we are working on today, and it's quite exciting. Yeah.
It has been quite a while since you partnered with Formula One, right? Yes. So how was that partnership? And I also want to understand the synergy between tech and sports.
Yeah, it's a lot of. I think the partnership, is excellent. Overall, with Formula One, our relationship has been excellent. We've had more than a decade of relationship. It's a relationship built on the trust of what Tata Comm can deliver for them. Way back when the relationship started, it was small amounts of data that used to, be produced in the racing tracks and taken to the. Now with the kind of, the 4K quality, the number of cameras on the field, and also the audio signals. The goal is to provide a more immersive experience to the audiences around the world. And that means that the amount of data traffic has gone up multi-fold since the time that we started our relationship. And also the number of races around the world. Today it's 24 races around the globe. So the number of races around the world has increased a lot. And with this, it's a classic example of how we have helped to uncomplicate and innovate. Right?
Again,
so
in
previously when the races were happening, that CEO used to tell me, it's a Formula E CEO who told me that it's a traveling circus, right? We take 2-3 Boeing full of equipment, and people used to travel it for every race, and that's the kind of work that they had to do. But today, both Formula One, Formula E, other sporting events that we are involved in, the MotoGP and all of them, we've helped them to transform to what is called as remote production. Right? So they don't have to, they carry much less equipment to the race, much less number of people going to the races to do the production. Because all the signals from this 100 plus cameras and 200 plus audio signals are all taken to a central production. In Formula One's case, it's in London, where it goes to London. It gets produced there and is taken to millions of viewers around the world, all in literally a bat of an eyelid, right? And that's a huge transformation that we have done, and this has uncomplicated many people's lives. So you don't have to, it saves them a lot of money. It's saving them, from a carbon footprint perspective, tremendous amount of savings. And it's uncomplicated, the people's 200, 300 people's lives who used to go for every race every weekend in different countries and continents. Today they can sit in one place in London and produce the whole thing. So I think and on top of it, now they're able to innovate a lot more, bring a lot more immersive experiences. We're looking at how not only for the remote people who are watching on the television, but also people who are in the race, because the race is just, the cars run past. How can you give more immersive experiences to those people? All of those are possible now, and all those innovations are possible because the foundation has been laid with a very strong technology through this partnership.
Any such adventurous partnerships that we can expect?
No, we definitely, I think this is a very exciting partnership. And the other question that you asked about is, the relationship between sports and technology and how it sort of transports to the enterprise world, right? So I explained to you the transformation that a Formula One has gone through. It's fundamentally a huge transformation of moving everything from here to remote production, and at the same time increasing the quality of the signals and the quality of what the audiences at home would see. And in doing so, the technology is at play. But if you look at our teams, the teams work in a very agile fashion. The teams work very collaboratively with the Formula One teams. So it's just not us. It's the whole ecosystem of customers and us coming together, working in a very agile fashion to deliver what we are delivering. So again, we believe that together with the customers that we do, the possibilities are limitless. Right? So limitless in terms of the kind of experiences that they're able to give to the consumers, and limitless in the possibilities of how now the federation can grow its business a lot more as well. So I think it's important, that aspect of our ability to bring the technologies and bring the teams together to deliver is something that we are able to take it to our other enterprise customers. So when I talk to a large bank, a global bank, or a large global logistics company, or a large global airline company, ultimately what they're worried about is, is my digital infrastructure going to remain resilient? Is it going to remain secure? So when they see the Formula One example, when we say that, look, we watched so many races, you wouldn't have had a black screen. The quality of it is excellent. Latency is very low. That kind of performance, if you are able to do for them, we can certainly do for you as well. And that is how we are able to transport our experiences in this domain, or what we are doing for sports, to a domain like a bank, or a domain like a large transport.
Now, looking at overall expansion that you have planned for the upcoming FIs, is there any particular investment that you have thought of, you have earmarked on a macro level for overall expansion?
So we have said in terms of our capital allocation strategy, we have said that up to $300 million per annum is what. I mean, if you look at the last few years now, we've already spent close to $1.4 billion in the last few years cumulatively in all these investments that I've been talking about. And we are earmarking similar, if not more, investments in the coming days. The philosophy is built on, if there are customer-specific things that we have to do, that gets priority.
Got it.
Fiber and cable is obviously a long-term investment that we do. And there we are continuing to invest a steady amount in terms of how much expansions that we need to do. And we also made an announcement saying that we are market leaders in data center connectivity in India. We are also examining, how do we connect more data centers around the world. And that's another area of investments that we are looking at. But in terms of the overall CapEx, we think that we can manage within that CapEx. The other expense that we've been earmarking is organically building software and those platform capabilities. Again, we called out that we had earmarked about $60 million per year in the last few years. I think the same kind of allocation will be there going forward as well. So we're strongly focused on investing, but the most crucial thing is to make sure the world is moving very fast, the tech world is moving very fast. We need to stay and continue to stay relevant to our customers.
Since you have joined, you have turned around the balance sheet of the company. You have changed the narrative of how people look at the company. Who do you think is your biggest competitor in this?
Well, this is a question that we get asked by investors as well, because they are looking to see, who can I compare you with? And today, we are in a very unique position with this digital fabric narrative, because if you look at an automotive, I can tell them that I'm helping you I'm in the car, I'm in your factories, I'm in your offices, I'm helping them to connect all of them. I'm giving you compute wherever you need, either on the cloud or in the factory with the edge solution. And I'm making the whole infrastructure very secure. And when it comes to customer acquisition, like I said, I'm going to help you to acquire customers and retain customers with our interaction fabric. So that is our story. We are playing, therefore, an end-to-end infrastructure. In the market, if you see, there are people who would do parts of it, not the whole thing. So we are fairly unique in a way that our digital fabric can be a full, complete story for a customer, which is when we think will help truly to uncomplicate and innovate. But we compete in individual domains. So when customer is looking for a network solution, we will compete with a global network player. So we are, the likes of entities, the likes of Orange, others would compete with us in that domain. When it comes to, again, securing the network, there are multiple players there. So there are OEM-led solutions. There are even SIs coming into that play. So we have a set of competition there. So our competition varies from domain to domain, but I would like to think that we are unique. Sometimes being unique is also a problem, where people don't have easy reference point to compare. But that's the advantage that we carry, that we are the only player in the world who can claim that I can offer a full digital fabric, starting from a car to the factory to the offices to eventually reaching your consumers, that we can be a single fabric for you. Only we can make that claim, and that's our differentiation.
Sometimes it's like people do confuse a Tata Communication with TCS, right? And you come from, you have a history in Japan and UK, right? With TCS. So how do you look at it? And do you think that it's a time where you can also, position Tata Communication in a way where, okay, Tata Communication and TCS, they are separating?
Yeah. No, it goes back to the same question that you asked about the brand recognition, right? So
visibility.
The visibility of what it does.
The name is also so similar, like TCS.
I know, but we when we abbreviate, we call ourselves Tata Comm rather than TCL, because TCL can also mean some other companies within the group, and so I think the name recognition will come, as you said, when we become more relevant to the senior folks in an organization. So there'll be a name recall if a CEO sees that, hey, Tata Comm has helped me to transform this, helped me to achieve these goals. And as that grows, our name recognition will grow. So one day, hopefully, Tata Comm will be as big.
When you started your career, I don't know how it started, where it started from, to the position you are today, like heading. one of the strongest company of Tata Group. Today, looking back, or maybe when you started, did you ever think you'll reach this position? And you have to marry that with the leadership lessons that you have learned over time.
No, I didn't certainly think or plan on this. I have basically, in my days in TCS, did what the organization wanted me to do. I joined TCS as a trainee programmer in Mumbai, and thereafter work in many client locations. I think the TCS gave me excellent opportunities working with, even though I was in TCS for 35, 36 years, every assignment has been new. So in my very first 3-4 years, I would have spent time in 3 different countries with 4 different customers. Right? So every country, every customer that you work with is a lesson by itself. So I spent a year in the US. I spent a year in Hong Kong. I spent a year in Australia. And then I went to the UK, which is where then I stayed for the longest time. But each of these assignments, working with a manufacturing company or working with a bank, and each of these assignments, working with different people in different countries, developed me as an individual, both from a technology perspective. So every assignment was on a new technology. Right? So once I'll be working on a Unisys mainframe, what used to be called as Burroughs, and then the next assignment would be on an IBM, and it will be some other language, some other databases. So there's constant learning. So when I look back at that, my formative years, I grabbed every opportunity. And I saw every opportunity to be a learning opportunity where I tried to understand the bigger picture of what that assignment was about. And that, I guess, gave me one of the biggest lessons. And I keep telling all the new joiners in the company that you have to understand the bigger picture. Be curious and continue to learn. And that's a big lesson. So stay curious and continue to learn. And that it's not by my design, but the way TCS gave me those opportunities naturally for me happen. So that's one big lesson for me. Then after many years, I went into more of general management roles in terms of heading markets and dealing with customers and winning deals and managing deliveries and all of that. And with that, managing the people that used to work. That gave another set of experiences for me. Certainly my years in the UK was very formative, both for us and for TCS. So when I went there, we were not very big, but we set very ambitious goals there and did many large deals, and that gave us a different exposure. So for me, if I look at my growth path, I grabbed all the opportunities. I saw every opportunity to be a learning opportunity, and in every assignment that I was given, I gave my 100% to make sure that it comes out well, and thankfully, as you do well, the opportunities comes naturally to you. So it's not that I charted my career to say that I want to be this, I want to be that. So I just grabbed whatever came my way and did my best.
Thank you so much. That's all from my end. Is there something that you would like to add?
No, thank you. It's been wonderful talking to you.
Same here. Thank you so much. Thank you.